Kris here. All right, so in line with my focus for this first quarter of 2026 to talk more on goal setting and work culture, I have decided to talk about a topic that organizations are not talking about enough. And even if they do, or even if they are, you're not talking about it from a very healthy perspective. Okay. And this topic actually shows up the kind of culture that a lot of organizations are encouraging or are operating from. I want to talk about sex and intimate relationships at work. Yeah, I'm talking about this because I was having a conversation with someone, and it caused me to remember a time that I have been called upon to come and intervene, right, in a challenge that this company had been facing for a while. And this challenge is the fact that there's been this increasing number of sexual harassment cases, right? And of course, they were confused because it was creating a lot of tension within the workplace. So they needed someone who could come in and, water down that tension. So they wanted me to design a series of sessions, right, that I can implement and facilitate, that would address this particular matter. So I was like, oh, cool, yeah, I'm down, let's do this. And I was pretty excited about it because that was the first time I was getting such a brief. But then, while I was preparing for it, I got another addendum or appendix, to the brief that said that I should not forget their stand and their focus as an organization, and I should harp on this, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, what's your stand? What's your focus? So they wanted me to come from the angle of we frown on this, not the sexual harassment part, mind you, but the fact that people would engage in romantic relationships. They were frowning at it. No sex between staff, we prohibit it. And if anyone is found or caught doing this, then you're going to be severely punished. And of course, the penalty was you're going to be fired, stuff like that. So when they told me that, I was like, okay, but no, it's not going to work. I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. They were like, but you called me to help you with something, right? And I'm saying that that's not the best way to go about it because that's going to actually create more problems. I'm sure that's the reason why you're even having the problems you're having. Of course, they were shocked again, as I said, but then we went along with my way. And so far, so good. Why am I sharing this? Because I know that there are so many people out there who also have that mindset that sex or intimate relationships should not be allowed in the workplace. And I do get where it comes from, right? Because we've all heard stories and we've seen instances where people have allowed their emotions, to move or to spiral in such a manner that it moves beyond the two of them and it spills out on a larger picture on the organization as a whole. So I get it. And also, I am not saying that we all should get up and just be sexing ourselves in the office or having intimate relationships. I'm not talking about irresponsibility here. I'm talking about having a humane face. All right, so let's get that clear. It's not about irresponsibility. When you make such bans or such prohibitions, right, in an organization, you are assuming that the people whom you have employed are children. You're dealing with adult humans. And where you've got a mix of people working together for an extended period of time, there's bound to be some form of physical attraction. There's bound to be some form of sexual tension. You putting a ban on that, you are not appreciating that reality. And you're also taking away from them their agency to make choices for themselves and their lives. And yes, that is a given, and that should be a given in a workplace. Let me put it this way. What you refuse to acknowledge, right, gets swept under the rug. And you can sweep something under the rug for so long, it begins to overflow. By the time you get to sexual harassment and sexual, it's because there's been a lot of sweeping under the rug because, it's not allowed, it's not done here. And it makes it easy for sexual predators to have their way, all right? Because, it's done in whispers, all right? So when you're caught out, blah, 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 blah. No. You want to create an environment where you've got matured minds. And the best way you can do that is acknowledge that people can have relationships. But first of all, you need to put down certain rules. Yes, there's got to be rules. There's got to be rules, but not rules to stop, but rules to help people who are in a relationship define their relationship within the context of work. First of all, you're at work, you're not in a relationship. You take your relationship outside work. So whatever is going on between two people should be between two people. It's nobody's business. It shouldn't be food for gossip in an organization. That's number one. Number two, it has to be consensual. All right. Number three, it shouldn't have been gone into with the primary purpose of leveraging on official benefits or official perks. Those are major guidelines. Number four, people's rights should be respected and treated with decency. By the time you have this as your founding support or founding rules, you find it makes every other thing easy. Now, does it mean that it's going to curtail human behavior 100%? No. It just means that you have a guiding principle. So when a case of sexual allegation comes to you, you already have things, right? But so what you need to do is establish, first of all, were you forced into this situation? Were you promised this and this? Has the integrity of the organization been compromised? If the answer is yes, then do the needful. If the answer is no, send them out on their merry way and tell them, please control yourselves, all right, and mind your relationships. This is a workplace. But once it begins to work or express itself in such a manner that it starts to affect the organization negatively, then of course you know what you need. I don't know about you, but I've seen people and I have friends who met at work, grew to like one another, loved each other enough to get married and start a family. So when I say that banning such relationships goes against the ethics and the principles of what it means to work with humans, this is what I mean. You cannot control people's emotions. You cannot control people's hormones. You cannot determine people's lives because they are working in your organization. Like, do not get ahead of yourselves. You're just an organization. You're just a CEO, you know. And by the time you start interfering in all these little things, what you're saying is that you have nothing on your plate. You have nothing on your desk. So this is a clear sign of micromanaging and also misaligned priorities. Your priorities are not what happens between two adults, right? Your priorities are what happens within your organization and how it affects your organization and the well-being of your people. If love is part of the well-being, please encourage it, but in a healthy manner. So all these, they should not, it's so childish and so archaic. Again, you're not dealing with kids. This is not a glorified secondary school. This is work with adults. As long as their focus is not compromised, it's none of your business. Okay? So I hope this video has helped put certain things in perspective, right? And if you need help in your organization regarding these issues, please, you know who to reach out to. Send me a DM or send me an email. The details are right there in my bio or in the caption or probably on this video. Have yourselves a great day. Bye.